Hi, my name's Dr. Padilla. I'm a professor in computer science and psychology, and I've been a professor for over 5 years now. If you were anything like me, your dream was to become a professor. I actually never thought I could become a professor, so I'm very pleased, excited, ecstatic that I've made it here today. Now, one of the things I've really noticed is there's often some major unexpected challenges that people face when transitioning from a PhD or postdoc position into a professor role. So I thought I would talk about those just so you have a clear vision of your future and what to expect when you actually make that transition. So let's jump on in. Okay, so right out of the gate, let's just address the elephant in the room, and it's that securing faculty positions, being a professor, is really challenging nowadays. Those spots are more and more limited, so it's going to be very competitive to get one of those roles. I'll do a whole video on how to make yourself the strongest applicant for those professorship roles. Right now I'm going to talk about the transition process. So let's say you've actually secured your faculty position. Congratulations. So what tends to happen is we spend so many years of our lives as graduate students and many more years as postdocs as well. And all of these skills, even coping mechanisms that you developed during that time, you will of course want to continue as a faculty position or professor, but those are major hindrances. What I find consistently is that people have a hard time transitioning from graduate work into faculty positions. And one of the major reasons for that is when you are doing your PhD work, you're often guided by milestones. You need to hit your master's or your thesis or your proposal, and there's all of these timelines along the way. And you are kind of burning out trying to make it through all of these hoops, right? And then you've made it through and now you're a professor and the hoops are almost all the way gone. You have to go through a tenure process in most institutions, but by and large, there's no more hoops. You have to make the hoops for yourself. So that can be really challenging. And I find that sometimes people don't change their mindset and instead they are just looking for what the new hoop or obstacle is and trying to address it. As a faculty member, you need to establish your research program, which is an entirely different objective than simply submitting a thesis or getting papers accepted. If you're just focusing on those short-term goals, you miss the long-term objective of setting a strong, independent program that has the ability to get lots of funding and train students and really advance the scientific discipline. So it's really an entire mindset from individual short-term milestones to a research mission that you are developing along with all of the people that you hire and you work with. The next major challenge that I see has to do with wrapping your mind around funding. Now, through your PhD and to some degree your postdoc, the funding you had to think about, but not in the same way, hopefully. You probably were in a program where your advisor had funding or you TA'd or you were on a particular project. Now it's your job to find and secure the funding. Now that oftentimes might feel like it conflicts with your research mission. And I say this because what we tend to see happen is that people who come right out of a PhD, they're in this mindset of hitting the milestones. So they're often willing to kind of do, anything it takes to get to the next step, which is totally reasonable. That served you well in your graduate work. Now with grants, they might take that similar mindset where it looks like all the grants have AI, so let's take on AI, or it looks like all the grants have this going on, so let's take on this. That can be counterproductive to try to kind of reconfigure your entire research program to fit grant funding mechanisms. Instead, building a strong research program that has fundable components, but not necessarily kind of getting quickly distracted by all of these individual funding mechanisms is a more long-term investment in your overall success. And it can be very scary, right? Because when you're a new faculty member, you're being evaluated on, are you getting grant money? So you might, be desperate to get grant money. And I totally get that and I understand that. But I will tell you, the trick is to switch your mind frame, that the grants are not like a milestone. They're to support your long-term research mission. You need to find the core of your research and you want that to drive your decisions, not necessarily these kind of short-term distracting things that are happening in your life. The next major unexpected challenge that you will definitely face transitioning is all of the competing requirements on your time. You're going to be expected to do research and to teach and to mentor and to do service, okay? Previously, your whole mission was to simply do research by and large, maybe teach a little bit. And all of a sudden, now you're splitting your time across all of these different things. And what I consistently find is junior faculty who are switching out of PhD land and postdoc land, they have difficulty figuring out how to prioritize their time and make sure they stick to it. Now, what can happen is logically you see that you're being evaluated on 3 things, and so you divide your time equally. I'm here to tell you that they are not equally ranked. So the major thing that is going to determine if you're going to have long-term success, get grants, all these other things, is the research productivity. That should be higher ranked in your mind than teaching and service. I would probably go research productivity, teaching, and then service at the bottom. So you are actually getting paid, and it's probably in your contract, to maybe divide things up equally across those. Don't actually divide your time in that way. Focus on the things that are driving your career, put all of your time to that, and then the leftover time, then you use that for teaching and service. And that can feel terrifying, right? Because you're getting teaching evaluations. Teaching takes up a ton of time. And it's really interesting. If you care about your students, if you're doing a good job when you are dedicating your time, you usually get great teaching evaluations. I think the people who get poor teaching evaluations truly do not care and aren't putting their effort into it. You don't have to spend all of your time on teaching to give a high quality class that gets good evaluations. You really just have to invest the time that you have mentally fully and be there with students and care deeply about them. That tends to be a more effective track for success. The sticky part that you will see is that you could spend your entire time teaching. There's certainly faculty positions that are dedicated to that. They're more of the teaching specific faculty positions. If you're in one of those, great, dedicate most of your time to teaching. If you're in a research-based faculty position, if you're in a tenure track, particularly in an R1, really teaching is going to need to be something that you compartmentalize, that you do not allow to take over your time. It will be hard because you'll have students emailing you at all hours of the day. You'll also have mentees emailing you at all hours of the day. So teaching and mentorship kind of go hand in hand. But I'm here to tell you that I have spent essentially all of my teaching, and I've spent 1/10 of my time teaching. And it turns out that that actually doesn't make a big difference in terms of student outcomes and the evaluations that I receive. What does seem to make a big difference is how there and present I am with students, how much I'm trying during class and when I set things up. So just to be clear, I think you should prioritize research and then teaching and then service. Turns out you'll be in line with all of the senior faculty who are doing it in that order as well. And you will also be more respected by senior faculty when they see that you have appropriately aligned your objectives and your time with how you're actually being evaluated. Now, in addition to those unexpected challenges, there's also many unexpected benefits as well. And I think really, in my opinion, it's one of the most satisfying jobs you can do. I think that you get immediate feedback in terms of how effectively you've been doing things, especially from students, and you really can see a long-term growth in students over time that is incredibly rewarding. You also are allowed to really determine what the work is for you. If you're someone who likes to work from 9 to 5, that can be your schedule. If you're someone who likes to work from midnight to 2 a.m., that can be your schedule. So essentially you're your own boss, and you can define the type of work, the nature of work, the hours, who you work with. It is really up to you. So you set up your own program for success, and if you know what that is, that can be really, really effective. So when you're coming from a PhD or from a postdoc, you might have things that you think are expected or norms, that you think that labs should be run in a certain way, or all of your previous advisors have done it in a certain way. I'm here to tell you that there's no rules. You can do whatever makes you most successful and the most happy. So you set up all of the systems in order to best facilitate your work and your students' work. And really the sky's the limit for how creative or interesting or effective to make that for yourself. Okay, so those were some of the unexpected challenges and some unexpected benefits from switching from a PhD or postdoc into a faculty position. Again, I think it's a super rewarding career. I really thought of it as a dream career for me, and it turned out to be that dream. That isn't the case for everyone. There's different experiences out there, of course, but if it's something that you're really passionate about, I would definitely encourage you to consider it. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, definitely consider hitting the like button and subscribe for more content on academic success. Academia can be tough, but you don't have to go through it alone. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next one.